Okay, here we have a four-term polynomial, and we're going to factor it by using grouping. So the first thing that we have to do is group. We're going to make two groups by putting parentheses around the first two terms and parentheses around the last two terms. Our next step is to find a greatest common factor for each of our two groups. In the first group, we're looking for a greatest common factor. The first thing we need to look for are the number coefficients. We have a 6 and a 12. Well, what's the GCF between 6 and 12? 6. Then we look at the a terms. Here we have 1a. Here we have a squared. So in this case, a is your common factor. And here we have x to the third and x, so x is your common factor here. Now let's look for the GCF of the second two terms. We look at the number coefficients, 4 and 8, so that means 4 is our GCF. Then we have b, and we have another b over here, so they have a b in common. This term has an x squared, but there's no x term over here in the second term. And this term has an a in it, but there's no a term in this other term, so there's no common factors there. So our greatest common factor of the first is 6ax, and our greatest common factor of the second group is 4b. So I'm going to write that 6ax and some parentheses plus 4b and then another set of parentheses. Okay, now we've got to figure out what goes in this parentheses. Well, out of this one we're going to factor out a 6ax. What that means is that we're going to divide each term by 6ax. Okay, so here 6's cancel out, the a's cancel out, and now we have x to the third on the top with x on the bottom. So that's the same thing as this x canceling with one of these x's and leaving us with just x squared. So we have x squared as our first term. Okay, let's move on to the second term. When we divide 12 by 6, we get 2. When we divide a squared by a, one of the a's will cancel out on the bottom, leaving us with just one a on top. And then our x's will cancel out. Now over here on this group, we're going to divide by our greatest common factor of 4b. Here, the 4's cancel, the b's cancel, and we have x squared left. Here, 8 divided by 4 is 2. Our b's cancel and leave us with a. Now this is a very important thing to note. This set of parentheses and this set of parentheses must be identical, exactly the same. If they're not, you probably need to go back and look at how you factored out a greatest common factor. Because they are identical, we can pull that out and say one of our factors is x squared times 2a, and our second factor comes from these greatest common factors, right here and right here. We'll combine them as 6ax plus 4b. And so here's our final answer. I want you to notice, though, that my final answer is two factors multiplied together. Notice right here I don't have a plus or a minus sign. I have this one factor, a binomial, times this other factor, a second binomial. Make sure that you don't have a sign, a plus or minus sign, written between your two factors in your final answer.